Good morning, everyone, and Shabbat Shalom. This Shabbat we begin reading the fourth book of the Torah. And while in English it's referred to as the book of Numbers, in Hebrew it's actually the book of Bamidbar, in the desert, in the wilderness. Why is it referred to as the book of Numbers? Because it begins with God telling Moses to take a census, a counting of the Jewish people. But what's fascinating is when the Torah describes the commandment to take a counting, a census of the Jewish people, God tells Moshe, Su'u et rosh kol adat b'nei Yisrael, which literally means raise up, elevate the heads of the Jewish people. And the question is, we all know the word for counting is lispor. Why does it say raise up the heads? How does raising up the heads imply counting the Jewish people? And the answer is that counting could either demoralize or empower. You know, tragically, during the Holocaust, the Nazis, Yamach Shemam, tattooed numbers on the arms of the Jewish prisoners in the concentration camps. If, God forbid, a person is sent to prison, they no longer refer to them by their name, but they say, inmate number such and such. As a matter of fact, even our society, many times you call a company, instead of asking you for your name, they ask you for your number, your social security number, your PIN number. But when you reduce a person to a number, you take away their identity and you say, you're just a number. That's the way numbers dehumanize. But on the other hand, a number is the most empowering thing. Why is it so empowering? Because when you think about an accounting, a census, every person counts for one. It doesn't matter if you're the most righteous or the most wicked, the wisest or the most foolish, the richest or the poorest. Everyone equals one. Moses was counted for one person in the census, and the simplest Jew, who cannot compare to Moses in knowledge and wisdom and greatness, is also counted as one. Albert Einstein would be counted as one, and some homeless person, Jeff Bezos, would be counted as one, and the greatest pauper would be counted as one. How could they both be equally counted only as one when there's such a vast difference between these people? And the answer is that everything that makes up our identity, our wisdom, even our virtues, our positive skills and traits, or even our wealth, is superficial. What is the essence of every human being is their godly soul. And therefore the simplest person and the greatest person, the President of the United States, the most powerful person in the world, and the simplest person, both equal one, because when it comes to their godly soul, they're all the same. And that's the most empowering message of counting people. Don't see any difference between one person and the next. We're all special, we're all unique, we're all one of a kind, we all possess a godly soul. And that's why we often use the term, you count. When you say you count, we say you matter, you are important. And that's what God says. Moses counted Jewish people, but in a way that is Su'u et rosh, raises up their heads. And as we go into the Shabbat and we begin this book of counting and elevating the heads, God is saying that every one of us has to raise up people, lift people up. It's human nature that sometimes we want to knock people down. That's why people speak gossip behind other people's back, because they want to put them down to make themselves look better. However, someone once said, a wise person, the best thing to do behind someone's back is pat it. Your job is to compliment, to uplift, to empower, to inspire, to elevate other people, just as God does to us in this week's Torah portion. There was a rabbi in Crown Heights a number of years ago. His name was Rabbi Yosef Weinberg. And he was a great rabbi, and one night, late at night, he got a call from someone he knew from another country, from Brazil, who said, my son was just rushed to the hospital. Could you go, since you live a few blocks from the Rebbe's office, go ask for a blessing for my son. The rabbi said, I'll go right over. He goes over and he sees the light is on in the Rebbe's study, but the door is locked. The Rebbe's busy. He didn't want to knock on the door and disturb the Rebbe, so he had an idea. He wrote down on a piece of paper. As soon as he had put it under the door, he said, what did I do? The Rebbe was an elderly man. He says, now I'm going to make the Rebbe bend down, bend over, and lift up the piece of paper. It bothered him all night. The next day when he met the Rebbe, he asked the Rebbe if he got the note, and the Rebbe said, yes, I will pray for him. And then he said, I'm so sorry that I put it under your door and I realized I made you bend down to lift it up. And the Rebbe looked at him and said, Why do you think my soul came into this world? The whole purpose that my soul came down and descended into this world is to lift up another human being. Su'u, raise up, elevate, proclaim the greatness and the uniqueness of every single person. This is what God tells us in this week's Torah portion.